Julie Musial is the founder and CEO of Musial Marketing, an international and social media and online training company. She practices as a marketing consultant, social media strategist, and executive business coach. Julie is the author of Advertising Evolution, Making Sense of the Marketing Options in Today's World. Please help me welcome Julie Musial.
Wasn't it rude? Can everybody hear me? The reason I did that is because how many meetings are you in? How many dinner tables are you at? How many conferences are you at where people are doing this? They're not listening, they're not focused, and that's what our world has come to. I love this stuff. I teach it, I'm kind of geeky. I am and I'm not, but I love it and I hate it. And the reason I love it is because it's connected to the world. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I have people working for me all over the world. I have a guy in the United Kingdom. I have met him, not in person, but on Skype, on Google Hangouts. So it's a really cool thing what the internet's done, what all of this technology has done. But the reason I hate it is because of what it's done. And what it's done is so many people have forgotten how to speak face to face. The internet is becoming a crowded place. I don't think I'm telling you anything that you don't know. When you go online and you read blogs, and I read all kinds of blogs, and because there's so many bad blogs out there, I have a feeder which I put my best blogs in there, and that's the ones that I look at. The bad ones, you've seen them, you look at them, and you think, why are they publishing this garbage? And when you see the garbage, you never look at it again. And the fact of the matter is, if you don't publish great stuff, nobody's going to take notice. And the internet is getting so crowded that it's going to get even worse and worse. So how do you set yourself apart? You do it face to face. You do it with the human interaction. Our young people especially are going to have a huge disadvantage because they don't know how to speak anymore. They don't know how to have conversations. At my dinner table, I ban these from the dinner table, but I do have a 20-year-old and I don't pay for his cell bill. So he will be doing this. And I don't know how he does it, but he can do it without looking at it. And it's annoying. We'll have family night at my house, and I've got 3 kids. One's 20, 2 17-year-old twins, and you've got one on the iPad, you got one on the iPhone, and you got one on the iPod. They all got their eyes, and I'm the only one watching the show. I tried to get a picture of them doing that because I wanted to put it up here, and they wouldn't let me do it. So they covered their head with a blanket, but it was quite humorous. But that's what the world's come to. And people who can, think about yourself. If you've met some great people here. When you meet people, you really get that human interaction, and it just opens up your world. And when you meet people, the bond is so much different. One of the big issues with social media is that, yeah, it's a great thing, it works. I've met some great people on social media, but the fact of the matter is I picked up this thing and I called them, and then I've met them. And so many people believe that social media doesn't work, but the reason it doesn't work is because they're not working it. And the thing is, you can't just use social media. You have to go see the people. You have to pick up the phone. You have to go see them. If you can't see them, if your business is international or national, mine's national and international, but mainly the United States, so I can pick up the phone, but if they're out of the country, I can talk to them on a Google Hangout or Skype, and all of this stuff is free. And every time they start turning one into where you have to pay for it, I just find another piece of technology that's free. And they keep coming out with these great pieces of technology. So the fact is, the people that can force themselves to go out and have that human interaction, really connect with people, it's no different than it was in 1960. Leo Burnett and all the big advertising agencies, they all had marketing advertising companies. It hasn't changed, it's just the channels changed, but you still have to see the people. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. When I was getting ready for this, it was very, very tough to get ready for this. This is the first time I've ever presented on this subject, and I'm a social media strategist, so as I'm thinking about it, how am I going to put this together? And one of my 17-year-old daughters said, "Mom, why are you teaching on face-to-face communication when what you do is social media?" And I said, because you have to understand that it's not just social media, which she believes because she's 17, you have to go see the people as well. And that's where people fail, is they think that if I open up a Facebook account, people are just going to start rushing in and I'm going to make $1 million. It doesn't work that way. My dad, he's 82. He got scammed into something. I can't believe he did this when he has me as a daughter. He never even asked me about it. He paid $1,200 to get into one of these $1,200 scams where he was going to make all this money on social media. And I just knew because he's 82, and so that went by the wayside. So, very unfortunate. So, today, in talking about this subject, you're not going to agree with everything I say, but I hope you take out some nuggets. You know, I've got people here that work for companies, I have business owners here. If you disagree with me with something, I'd love to hear from you afterwards. I'll take all the questions afterwards. The fishbowl, wherever it is, at the end, I'm going to do 2 drawings. I'm going to give 1 copy of my book, Advertising Evolution, and then I'm going to give a free consultation. In the consultation, if you work for somebody else, you can either do this for the business you're working for, or I'll do it for you personally, where I'll take a look at all your social media, I'll take a look at your website, and I'll take a look at your blog, and I'll give you a strategy on what you should do. And that's worth about $500. So what's in that fishbowl, hopefully you've put a business card with your email on there, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start emailing you, and if you don't want me to, just let me know. I'm going to email you 1 social media tip a week. These are really great tips. This isn't just, a bunch of garbage. If you don't want them, just unsubscribe and you'll never hear from me again. If you put a card in there without your email, just give me a piece of paper before I draw and get your email in there. So that's what that's all about. So the key takeaway I've pretty much already said. Social media is a beautiful thing. I absolutely love it. I'm highly, highly connected. Your website, you have to have an outstanding website. You have to have an interactive website. You need to be changing it continually. People go to your website to find you. 62% of the people, and that statistic's probably a little bit old, are going to the website before they ever even find you. So you have to have a good site. You have to have a great website. Not just good, it's got to be great. Make sure everything works. So social media, your website, but the face-to-face. How are you going to set yourself apart? That's what it's all about, is how to set yourself apart in this busy internet that we have. So a little cartoon up there, and you can move if you can't see this. I'm not sure if you can see these from over there. But this cartoon, a telephone directory, that'll be in rare books. Isn't it fun? People use it to keep their table up. I don't use the phone book. Most people don't. About 25-30% still do. But those typically are older people. But older people, the fastest growing sell online is adults 45 plus, so it is changing. So even if you're selling cemetery plots, you still need to be online because people are going online to find you. So just real quickly, to take you down memory lane, 71 was the first email ever sent. 82 was when the internet was connected worldwide. 90, the internet service provider started to emerge. 92 was the first text. In 95, they decommissioned all of the restrictions on the internet. I don't know if you remember, but they used to have restrictions on the internet, but those are all gone. 95, eBay and Amazon came alive, and in 1997, Google.com was registered. It hasn't even been that long. So if you're thinking you're excluded from this world, you're not. I was talking to a friend who has a 74-year-old mother, and she was working on this great project. And I asked, how did she get the information to do that project? And she said, I just Google that shit. And she's 74. So think about it. It's not just young people. It's not just kids anymore. It's everyone. And, one of the mistakes you've heard, so many businesses are going out of business. Like Blockbuster just went out of business last year, closed the last of their 300 stores. You need to know technology, but you also need that face-to-face interaction because that's what will set you apart. So just to keep going, in 2001, the Apple iPod, 03, first word on Skype, 03 was LinkedIn, 04 was Facebook, 5 was YouTube, 6 was Twitter, 10 was Pinterest, 10 was Instagram, 11 was Google+. And in 2012, the number of people on the internet was 2.4 billion. It's closer to 3 billion right now. And studies show that in the next 3 years, another 3 billion are going to come online. And that's why I say you have to be there. You have to be really unique and different. You have to be awesome. but you have to set yourself apart because it's going to be such a busy place, and there's a lot of bad information out there. So don't just put out something on the internet, put out great information, but then follow up. You have to set yourself apart. Video has gotten really hot, and the reason it's hot, Instagram has video, you can put videos on Pinterest, you can put them everywhere, and the reason that video's gotten so hot is YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. It's owned by Google, and video can give you some emotion. So if on your website, you gotta have video. You wanna start doing video. Video really isn't that tough to do. I have a video course on my membership site, and when I first started doing videos, I was bad. I was. Everybody hates their first videos when they do them. They're bad. But you get better. It gets easier. You just keep doing it. It's not that tough. So you want to do video. That will start to give you that human interaction, but it's not the end. You still have to see the people. I actually hired a coach. I was online. I firmly believe in coaches. I am a coach. But I saw a coach from Salt Lake City online about 3 years ago, and I could feel her. I could feel her honesty. I could feel her warmth. So I went to Salt Lake City and I met her, and I retained her for a year. That's what video did. But I also went out and saw her. And I'm going to show you a picture about what happened when I went out to see her in a bit. So just to tell you the magnitude of online, because I'm not downplaying online. Online is, you have to be there. You have to be on social media, and you have to have a great website. But just to kind of take you and show you how big the internet is, Cyber Monday only turns 9 years old this year in 2014. And the amount of money that's spent, and this isn't just products, this is also services. In 2006, 610 million were spent on Cyber Monday. In 730 million. In 846 million. In 887 million. In 10, 1 billion. In 11, 1.2 billion. In 12 was 1.4 billion. And in 2013, $2.29 billion were spent on the internet on Cyber Monday. It's massive. It was a 16% increase. And if your website isn't mobile friendly, you need to get it mobile friendly, because the sales that on Cyber Monday were 18% on mobile, and it was up 18% from 2012. So you have to have a great website, and you have to have it mobile friendly. The 5-day period from Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday was $7.4 billion on the internet. It was a 26% increase in 2012. It's massive. If you're not on the internet, you got to get on the internet. But remember, it's a crowded place. How do you set yourself apart? You got to pick up the phone, and you have to see the people. So the uses of the internet. You've got people they're doing research, 62%. Think about your own behavior. Where do you go when you need something? Banking, 50%. Shopping, 58%. Meeting people, 15.2%. Information about health, 62%. Doctors now are doing videos. They're all over the internet. Making travel reservations. Do you pick up the phone and call a travel agent? I don't. I do it all online. I just had to switch an airplane last week, and I just went out. It's easy. Why would you need a travel? I hope I don't have any travel agents in here, but that's, there's a lot of industries that are dying, but there's also a lot of them that are new and upcoming. So what's going away? It's just change. And people looking for jobs, human resources. All of the human resource people are on LinkedIn. That's where they need to be. And it's not just products, it's services too. You need to be there if you're a service. So if the internet's so great, what's the problem? So I am heavily connected to social media. So what I did was I put out a question to my followers on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google+. And I asked people, so what do you think is the problem with the internet and social media? And I got back a lot. It was a hot topic, let me tell you. So I just put a couple on here. This one is local, so I took out her name. Don't get me started. The negative sides of social media: lacking nonverbal communication, lacking ability to hear intonation of verbal communication and understand what is or what is not being said, inability to communicate in person or on the telephone, false perception that social media friends are genuine friends. The beauty of the written communication versus snail mail. Think back to reading and rereading a loving note or loving card in the actual handwriting of your loved one. 21st generation's inability to write in cursive. I have kids that can't write. Glad you're presenting the speech on this topic. All the best. P.S. And the ability to really connect with people and develop friendships. Wow, that one really said what I'm talking about. It's that when you meet with somebody, the verbal, the nonverbal, just, the cues that you get from meeting with somebody, even the voice. I mean, for those of you that have kids or are in relationships, honey, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. When you text, I've gone down that road, won't go down that road ever again. With your kids or a relationship, don't get emotional on there because it's going to kill you. Been there. So the largest cell that uses social media is people with lower self-esteem. The lower the self-esteem, the more social media they use. Here's another one. I'm not going to show you too many of these. This is just the last slide. Too easily sucked into non-productive aspects of social media. People don't know how to turn it off, including me. I can teach you how to turn it off. Social media is very addictive, but you have to learn how to turn it off. You have to learn how to use it. And then the one on the bottom, this guy he was really worried about security. He wouldn't even put his real picture. Craig, he's got whatever kind of animal that is. Julie, this was on LinkedIn. Julie and Kathy, from my perspective, it became too inundated with information that I become less trustful of when it's presented. It reminds me of an old game of a circle of people where one starts the game by whispering some information to the person next to them and continues on until it's spoken by the last person. We tend to find that the information is greatly distorted. That's how I view our current need to speak now in social media. The lack of trust. That's what it's doing. So if you're getting caught in this trap of just being on social media and just blogging, you have to have great information out there, but you also have to pick up the phone because that's when people buy things from you when they know, like, and trust you. And while video can get people to start knowing, liking, and trusting you, you've got to get that interaction, the human touch. Because as Craig said, he doesn't trust the stuff anymore. And I gotta admit, I see the same thing, and there's also a lot of negativity starting on social media. I've noticed that too. That's a huge turnoff. So how much time should you spend on social media? I don't think you should spend any more than 30 minutes working a day. And I can teach you how to do that. This isn't the sell job, that's what I do. I only spend about 30 minutes a day, and I'm in the business, and that's all you need to spend. But marketers are saying 62% that they're spending 6 hours a week. 36% of marketers are spending 11 hours a week. That's a lot of hours. I don't think you need to spend that many hours. I personally spend about 7 hours a week, and I'm in the business. That might be on a big week. But you have to learn how to use it. You have to learn how to automate it. But start with 30 minutes. Set a timer. Social media is addictive, so if you tend to get addicted to it and drawn in, tell yourself, I'm not working. Get off of Facebook. It's got to be working. You have to figure out what platforms you should be using and work it. Don't play, because it's really easy to play. So these emotion sells. People buy on emotion and they back things up with logic. So those top two, that one on the top left, that's a text. Happy New Year, sweetheart. I love you and many smooches. Now which one's more emotional? The two people on the right or the one on the left? The one on the left, yeah, that's nice. But the one on the right, no, that's emotion. That's emotion. And I just put that there to show you that the human touch is emotion. And the one down below, that's a picture of me when I went to Salt Lake City to retain this coach. These are people that I met there. I didn't know them when I went there. You can see now we're all friends, huggy, huggy. And the lady on the right, she's a very wealthy person, and now I'm doing a joint venture partnership with her. And had I not gone to Salt Lake City, I'd have never met her. She would have never trusted me. But I met her, I got to know her. That human interaction, we're bonded. We're very connected now, and we're doing that partnership. I had a boss. I was in sales for 12 years. I love sales. I'm a very competitive person. So my boss told me, you need to see the people. You still need to see the people. You got to see the people. And he would also say, tell them, and tell them again. Because I'm throwing a whole ton of stuff at you right now. When you walk out, it's going to be a lot. So you can only retain so much. And that's why when you go back, you have to tell them, and tell them again, because they only can take in so much. Which is why I pause every now and then so that you can take it in. When you are with someone, try to slow down because you know your product, they don't. So try to slow down so they can take it in and understand what you're saying. picture of my 20-year-old son. We were having lunch. Does he look like he's really communicating with me? He looked up at the last second. I snapped the picture and he says, "What are you doing with that?" I said, "I'm using that in my speech Thursday." He said, "No, you're not. Give me your phone." I kept the phone. But he seriously tells me that he has short-term memory loss. And I said, "Taylor, you don't have short-term memory loss. You have an iPhone. And that's your problem. You are on that thing constantly." He is. It's just maddening. That's the way they are. Think about your kids. I bet you they are too. It's just crazy. My one daughter, very, very bright, almost a 4.0 student. She's a senior, and I told her, I said, if you can just master the art of communication, you will be an extremely wealthy person. Because your friends don't know how to communicate. Sprint commercials, they're really, really good, and I want to show you some of these Sprint commercials because they make fun of us. So I want to show you a couple commercials. I got the first one queued up. If I can find 4, I'm going to show you 4 commercials.
Sprint owner Steve's Facebook post on our new network work.
I have tickets to the show. Anybody wants them? Message me.
I'll take them.
I said to message me, not boot it in the comments. I disregard your request.
Come on, man.
No, follow private message procedures. You went rogue, now look at us. Having it out in the comment section.
Dude, you turned into a monster.
You made me this way.
In honor of the important things you do,
Isn't
save
that fine?
$100 in any new phone when you
They're
switch to
making
Sprint.
fun of us. So let me see if I can find a couple more of these. Oops. Okay. It's not my own computer, so I'm going to see if I can find them. Let's see here. I knew this would probably happen, that they'd all disappear. As soon as you play one, they go into a different order is what happens. Okay, so I'm not finding them. So what I'm going to do is... There we go. Okay, here's one. You're going to get a...
Everything you
Oh, why not?
do on the new Sprint network is important. Today, we honor Jenna's Facebook activity.
Stephanie has sent you a friend request.
You and Stephanie are now friends.
Hannah has sent you a friend request.
You and Hannah are now friends.
Greg has sent you a friend request.
In honor of all the important things you do on our network, Sprint brings you
Isn't
one
that hysterical?
upgrade to a new phone every year and get unlimited talk, text, and data guaranteed for life. Now only $65 a month.
They're just so funny. But they're making fun of us. That's what people think is real communication, and it's not. I'll show you one more if I can find it. If you want to entertain people, go back to the office and show them these commercials. Oh, here's one. This is a good one.
Sprint honors Chris and Craig's texts on our new network.
Think you'll go out tonight?
Probably not. But maybe.
I'm kind of tired. But I also kind of want to go out.
Yeah, me too.
Well, text me if you do.
Okay, but I probably won't. But I might.
In honor of the important things you do, Sprint brings you one upgrade to a new phone every year and get unlimited talk, text, and data now just $65 a month.
So now we'll go back to the presentation. So you get my point, is that they're making fun of us. That's what people think is communication now, especially young people. Does anybody here not have a smartphone or a cell phone with them? That's what I thought.
What makes them smart?
Exactly. That's everyone has one. And I think I keep going out on this thing, but it doesn't give you emotion. And that's what those commercials were showing you. It doesn't. And that's how we've begun to talk to people, is those little snips. I ask people when I meet with them on a face-to-face, how do you like to communicate? And sometimes people say text, and I just cringe because I don't want to communicate with text. It's a horrible way to communicate. Email's a horrible way to communicate. When people say to me, just send me the proposal, I won't do it. And I suggest that you don't do it too. And when I consult people on sales, I tell them don't do it. If somebody says, just send me the proposal, don't do it. Make them, at minimum, have a phone call with you, because what they're doing is they've got 5 proposals here, and they're trying to weed out which one, and it's probably cost, and then they'll just, they'll start pulling them out. But if you meet with them or have a phone call, A, you can get the questions, but B, you can get that interaction, and they'll know, like, and trust you. And a lot of times people will spend more money just because they know, like, and trust you. So don't send out those proposals on email, even if they ask. I've done it. I make people meet with me. 9 things you'd lose without your smartphone. Find your way home. Phone numbers. My phone died last week for the first time. And I didn't know anybody's phone number, so as soon as it started working, I thought, I got to write some of these down because I don't know anybody's phone number, including my kids. Check the weather, wake up, fill the silences. I was at the beach in Door County last summer, and 2 beautiful people came out of the water, young people, and you could tell they were dating. But they didn't even look at each other. They just got out of the water, went back to their sun chairs, and they didn't even talk to each other.
Talking to each other.
Yes, like the Verizon commercial, right? They could have been. It's gotten to be a real problem. People use it to remember things. Probably my son with his short-term memory loss. To calculate tips, how to spell, and selfies. This is a selfie. Let's take a selfie and send it on Snapchat. That's what they do. My daughter's looking at it. They're fixing their hair. It's really gotten kind of narcissistic where it's all about them. But when you're in a meeting and people are on their cell phones, they're texting, they're emailing. Nobody's doing it right now. That's awesome. The last 2 speeches I did, the person that hired me said to me when I was done, this was the first time I've ever had the group, nobody was emailing or texting. It's rude when people do that. I go to conferences all over the United States, and I spend a lot of money, thousands of dollars to do this. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when I've got a guy or a gal next to me, and the presenter's presenting and they're doing this, and all of a sudden they realize they missed a great point. And they tap me on the shoulder, can you tell me what you just said? And I'm like, no, I don't want to miss this point. And you're doing this, and why should I miss the next point because you're doing this? Go to a conference and shut this thing off. That's what you paid for. That's why you're here. I'm so glad nobody's texting or emailing. So inbound, but then what? Inbound, if you don't know what the term is, inbound is everything coming into you. How we do marketing nowadays with social media in the internet, which outbound was television, radio. Outbound means you're hitting people over the head with an intrusive message. Inbound is you bringing everything into you to your website. And that's what you should do. You should bring everything into your website. But then what? What do you do after you get them to your website? Well, you should have an automated system to send out emails, to send out marketing information, but that's just one thing. You don't just send emails. You might sell some people, and you will, but what you really want to do is set yourself apart by picking up the phone and calling people. And I have clients who will say to me, but I don't need to do that, I'm business to business. But who's in those businesses? It's people. 100% of your customers are people, 100% of your clients are people, and 100% of your employees are people. We're all people. It's not a building sitting there making the decisions, it's people. So you have to go see the people because that's who makes the decisions. When I was in sales, people would come to me and because I did quite well, and people wanted to know, how do you do this? And I would try to help people, and I'd say, okay, so what did the guy say when you met with him? Well, I didn't meet with him. Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to meet with them, and you need to find out what his problem is. What can you help him with? Okay, will do. So they go off on their way, and they come back about a week later, and they still are having the issue. And I said, so how'd that meeting go? Well, they didn't get back to me on the email yet. I said, go see the... Oh, I didn't hear you say see them. I thought you said send an email. That's what people do. They send emails, and you know yourself, you send an email and then you get an email back, you send an email and you get an email back, and just pick up the phone or see the people and get it done. Social media works if you have a strategy. Too many people don't have a strategy. If you don't have a strategy and you know what you want to do, how are you going to get it to work? The psychology of social media right now is to push social media to your website, give people free things, give them things of value so that they want to go to your website. But the problem with the internet and doing that is it has to be great information, because if you give poor information, nobody's going to want it. Nobody's going to share it, so you have to give great information. Marketing sells stuff. That's what we do. Your number one and number two job is to market and to sell. And marketing hasn't changed, but the communication channels have. But face-to-face communication has not changed. We're still people, we still talk, we still get on the phone. It's all about developing those relationships. And keeping a client and losing a client, keeping them is 8 times cheaper than finding a new one. It's very, very expensive to find new clients. So once you get your clients, don't forget them. You think about your personal life. If you have families, you have kids, if you forget about your kids and you're not involved in their lives, you're going to get in trouble. If you have spouses or girlfriends or boyfriends and you don't communicate with them, you're probably going to lose them. Business is the same way. You can't just send them emails. You got to see the people. You have to pick up that phone. And if you're international, use Skype, use Google Hangouts. There's all kinds of technology out there for free that you can use to see the people. This one, the only reason I put that in there, YouTube is massive now. YouTube, in my opinion, is almost getting too big. But if you do videos, you have to do great videos, and then you got to get them out on social media, and you have to share them. But YouTube is really, really massive. And the reason it's so hot is because it works. People, you can get emotion, you can get people to start trusting you on video, but it doesn't end there. If you go see the people, the trust skyrockets. Sales is the highest paid hard work and the lowest paid easy work. Too many salespeople go into sales thinking a big bag of money is going to drop in their lap. It doesn't happen. You have to do the work. So why do so many people in sales fail or make mediocre incomes? It's fear. Fear takes them out. They're afraid to call the person or see the person for whatever their reasons are. I studied Tom Hopkins, #1 sales trainer in the world, and one of his techniques, what he says is, you have to figure out your closing ratio. So if you have a closing ratio, let's say you need to see 10 people to sell 1, your closing ratio is 10 to 1. So what Tom Hopkins says is every time you get a no, you got to say, yes, I got the no. I'm one no closer to a yes. Seriously, think about it. It's really, in a lot of cases, it's a numbers game. And so you want to think about what's the worst case scenario. If you pick up that phone and the guy says no, that's probably the worst case scenario. You're not going to die. The sun's going to come up tomorrow and you're going to move on. So think about the worst case scenario and then just do it. Face your fears and just do it. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. I know when I first started in sales, I used to literally sweat because I was so nervous. But it gets easier the more you do it, and then you really start to enjoy it. Face those fears and you'll get through them. Here's some great sales statistics. I like the top one and the bottom one the best. The top one is 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. Isn't that sad? How do you sell someone if you don't follow up? How do you know what their objections are? How do you know what their questions are? The last one, 80% of sales are made on the 5th to the 12th contact. That's a lot of contacts, and that's where social media can help you, and that's where your website can help you, because 5 to 12 contacts is a lot of time, and time is money. So if you can keep, as Gary Vaynerchuk would say, keep jabbing people with your with information on social media, they'll remember you. But it's got to be good stuff. That'll help you with the 5 to 12 contacts. But you still have to see the people. Here's 3 more I wanted to show you from my survey. The top one. Now remember my survey, I asked them, what's the problem with social media and the internet? The top one, the illusion that communication has occurred. The next one, decreased personal interaction. The third one, and this is what I got, all of them basically said the same thing. The third one, this is more on face-to-face meetings versus online meetings. A customer, financial advisor, is doing a lot of go-to meeting presentations with his clients. He reported that his online meetings generate a 15 to 20% success ratio versus face-to-face meetings are running 75 to 80%. That's huge. For him, he needs to do one-on-ones. And you really got to weigh, if you can get 1,000 people in a room and you only close 15 to 20%, that might be worth your time. But in most cases, people don't put 1,000 people into a room. So you have to value your time and what's the best value for your time. But if you're emailing and you're texting, it's so easy to blow off an email and a text. You know, think about your own behavior. What do? You go back to your office and you start deleting. That's my favorite button, is the delete button. So you send an email, they're not even seeing it because they have so many emails. I mean, and for whatever reason, seriously, my email, people tell me, I know Marilyn, she thought she sent me an email. I'm sure she did, but I didn't get it. Seriously. So you're thinking you're sending emails and people aren't getting them, and that's why you got to pick up the phone and you got to see the people, because it's so easy to get lost in technology. So selling. A lot of you here sell, and really you're always selling. You're selling yourself to your kids, you're selling yourself to your spouse. Even if you don't sell it, you really are selling. And selling is all about, there's 4 things. How I sell, how I look at it is, it's a 40-40-15-5. 40% of the time you have to establish rapport with people. You have to small talk, and if you don't like small talk, you have to force yourself to like small talk. And then once you get the small talk, because that's when people like you, they get to know, like, and trust you, then you establish the need. So once they like you, you kind of transition into establishing the need, find out what their problem is. And if you establish that rapport, and they know, like, and trust you, they'll start telling you what their need is. That's why you have to establish the rapport. And then once you get that, you advance your solution, and I'll get a little more into this. And then you need, if you do all of this right, then you develop the commitment, and it's only 5%. I know it sounds easy, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this. But think about your own behavior. If you want to buy something, and a salesperson walks up to you, and you start telling them something about the football game, and they just start telling you features about the refrigerator, how does that make you feel? You know, it's like, well, he couldn't care less about why all he wants to do is sell the refrigerator. Well, yeah, that's what he ultimately wants to do, but it would have been better if he'd have talked about the football game for a little bit and then gone into the features of the refrigerator. And the other thing is, so many salespeople will, let's say you're telling me your issues. What's the problem? And I come back, and before you're even done, you don't even have the last 2 words out of your mouth, and I go right into the features of the refrigerator. You know, think about times this has happened to you, and you know the guy or gal isn't even listening to you. And it's annoying. You think, he doesn't even care. All he wants to do is sell me this refrigerator. So you have to establish that rapport. It's that critical. And if you do work with people around the country or international, and somebody calls you, my phone doesn't ring much because I am national, international, but when somebody does call me, I really take notice. It's like, wow, they called me. I had a gal call me from Los Angeles the other night. And trust me, we're going to do something together, because I know she's, you know, Jane on the spot, and I had met her at a conference, but we're going to do a JV partnership together. But she called me, and she set herself apart. I mean, I meet thousands and thousands of people, but she set herself apart with that phone call, and that's what you need to do also. Sell with your heart, not your head. You know, tell stories about your life. I do a lot of blogging, and one of the really big bloggers said to me, Julie, you need to have an opinion, you need to tell people your opinion, and you need to sell with your heart. And what he meant by that is tell people stories about your own personal life. And teach in a way, sell in a way, and use examples of your life. You notice I talked about my daughters, and I talked about my son, and I talked about the gal in LA. And you want to use examples because people remember stories. They don't remember facts. So developing that rapport, just a little bit more on that, because that's important. And every time you go back, you know, the statistics are the sale is made between the 5th and the 12th encounter. So every time you go back, you have to establish that rapport. And there's different ways you can do that. You know, you walk into somebody's office and you see kids and pictures of their kids, and you have kids, so you talk about their kids. You want commonalities. Maybe they have footballs all over the office. You know, whatever, you just look around and that's what you talk about. And you really want to care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and that's what that small talk rapport does. People have to feel that you care. They need to feel the warmth and the human interaction. And if you can get through to people, they will know, like, and trust you, and they will buy your product or service. So when I train sales, what I say to people is, When you go talk to someone, I don't care if you had a fight with your spouse, I don't care if you had a fight with your kids, it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. It's all about them. So drop your life at the door, and when you walk in, focus on them and have great eye contact. And don't say, oh, just a minute, I need to send this text, or just a minute, I have to do this, or don't have your phone ringing. You got to turn it off. You need to focus, really focus in on them, because that's what's important. Slow down, as I said before, because I bet I've just thrown a ton of information on you. I have to, because I only have a few more minutes. But in your sales, if a client's rushing you, a customer is rushing you, and they say, well, just give me the proposal, don't do it. Schedule another appointment. Because if you just leave it there, you're not going to get the buy. You need to come back and present. So once you establish that rapport, you want to ask the questions to find out what they need. And what I teach people is you want to write down your power questions. What are the power questions you need to ask people to get them to give you the information you need? And then review them once a week. Seriously, in my portfolio, I have a sheet which has a whole list of power questions, and I review them once a week because I forget what they are. And sometimes I will even, as I'm in a meeting, if I'm in a really tough meeting and I can't crack somebody to come out, I'll pull it out. They don't know what I'm looking at. And I'll start looking at my power questions. And those are my questions that are designed to get that person talking. Listen 70% of the time. When I go to networking functions, I don't talk a lot. This is not my nature to talk a lot. I'm a great listener. And when I go to networking functions, I introduce myself and then I just listen and I let people talk. And I let them go. And I can't tell you how many times people will say, oh, I'm so rude. What do you do? And then I tell them what I do, but not a lot. I ask them if they want to have a meeting. Let's have a meeting. Could we get together Tuesday or Thursday? Because I don't like to talk business at a networking function. So you always want to get them into the meeting. But you want to get to the emotion, you want to ask feeling questions. How would it feel to own blah, blah, blah? Or how would it feel to open up your computer in the morning and you have money in your bank account because you set up all these great, wonderful social media systems and this stuff on your website and blah, blah, blah. If feeling questions are hard for you, try to force yourself to do it. Get good at it, because that's what you want to get people to feel, that they already own it. And find out what the gap is. Where are they now and where do they want to be? And studies have shown that if you can find 3 things you can help someone with, your odds skyrocket that you're going to sell the person. So I was consulting with someone at a client of theirs in Milwaukee. It was a software company. And what came out was this company had a sales force. And the sales gal went into this company and she found out that they needed a job and it was a $25,000 job. So it was great. So they went back and she was doing the job. But when she got back and they started working on the job, what she found out was there was a $100,000 job on the table that she never dug deep enough to find out that they needed. And they went with another company for the $100,000 job because they didn't even know that that company offered the service, because she didn't dig deep enough to find out. So you want to keep going, even though you find one need and you know you can help them, keep digging deeper. And bring your services from time to time. If you work with clients often, and don't assume people know things. Assume they don't know things. And say, you know, I just like to go through this. We've got some new services and some old services. I want to make sure you know what we do. So we went through rapport 40%, the problem 40%. If you do this right, come back with your solution. And what you want to say is, this is what I heard you say. You know, after you do the report again, this is what I heard you say. Last time when we met, Bill, you said blah, 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 blah. Did I get that right? Because you want to make sure you got it right, because what you hear and what they said could be 2 different things. So you want to make sure you got it right. Plus, they might bring more people into the meeting. So you got to come back and say, this is what I heard you say. Is that correct? Is that your need? And when they say it is, then you say, here's what I got. And then you ask for the sale. And that might sound funny to ask for the sale, but I actually have coached people who say, I can't ask for the sale. You got to ask for the sale. You just have to. And if you're getting closing signs in between and you already have those 3 needs, close it then and stop selling. Just close it, because you can talk yourself out of the sale. Bottom line is use social media and your website to find people, but use face-to-face to develop relationships and close the sale. some of you have seen this in here. I am heavy on discipline. This book here, the one in the picture, this is The Power of Discipline by Brian Tracy. You can be the smartest person in the world, but if you're not disciplined and you can't force yourself to do things, you're not going to be real successful. So if you lack in discipline, get this book. This is a great book. It's an easy read by Brian Tracy, Tracy. And discipline is just simply doing what you should do, when you should do it, whether you want to do it or not. And too many people, well, I got to run some errands. I got to send these emails. I got to do this. This will teach you how to get stuff done. There's two things that'll take you out, the lack of discipline and fear. Social media and the internet take time, and sales takes time also. You don't want to rush it. I got 5 minutes, I got to hurry up. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Don't rush the process. And do what you say you're going to do. I've actually had people tell me that they bought me for whatever I was selling. I've sold various things throughout the year. I've owned 3 companies. People have said, I knew I had to buy you because you weren't going away. And what they mean by that is if I say I'm going to be there at Tuesday at 2 o'clock, I'm there Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Do what you say you're going to do because they'll remember. Don't think, oh, they won't remember and I don't have time to get this done. You got to get it done. Vince Lombardi, the dictionary is the only place that success comes before work. Hard work is the price we must pay for success. I think you can accomplish anything if you're willing to pay the price. I think so too. But what he's talking about is if you really want to be successful, successful people, most of them are not lucky. They put in the time, they put in the effort, they put in the strategy, they hire coaches. A big bag of money will not drop in your lap for most people. And if it does, you'll probably lose it anyway because that's what the studies say. So to be successful, you got to put in the hard work. Anybody have any questions?
When you mentioned having your website to be responsive design, is that a service that you offer, or do you partner with
Yes,
companies?
we do. We have the membership site where you can go in and learn the stuff on your own, but we also have a service where we do social media setup and maintenance, we do websites, and we do search engine optimization. Anybody else?
You're right here in Green Bay.
I'm right here in Green Bay, believe it or not. I don't want to be forever. My girls are going off to college, and I really would like to be in Arizona instead of this. Because I came in here with my boots, and I don't want to wear boots anymore. But I am right here in Green Bay. I am.
I noticed a lot of, people don't, and you're promoting face-to-face, but a lot of sites, it's hard to find out where they live.
Isn't that wild?
Isn't it amazing?
Yes.
And I noticed on yours, there's no, it says I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
It doesn't say it right on there, and that's because I am mainly national. But if you go to my website, somewhere you'll be able to find, like if you get an email from me, it will say where I'm from.
And somehow I think that's a very, important thing.
The only-
To know, for some reason, to know where that
Green Bay,
person's from.
Wisconsin would be a good thing. I just
Yes.
wouldn't want to give my, you don't want to give, because I'm national and international, I do get some people, strange people, contacting me.
Yeah.
It can get a
Yes.
little scary,
Yes.
but I do agree with the Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's a great suggestion. Anybody else?
Julie, you were talking earlier about how you got to do things face to face, and people want you to send them your proposal.
Yes.
Vicki and I have been selling insurance for years between us, and we're getting more. That happens more and more. I just send you something.
Yes,
I'm like you.
that's great.
I won't do it.
Yep.
And if I've met somebody a couple times already, maybe established some rapport, and I have to send something via email to them, of course. But as far as an actual proposal, I won't.
Right.
So what is your suggestion in not doing, in telling them no?
What I say to people, because the thing is,
Because otherwise you just make it a commodity.
he asked me if you didn't hear, he doesn't send people proposals when they ask to be sent, and I don't either. So what I say to people is, it's my policy not to send you, it's my policy, I don't send anybody a proposal without meeting with them. And if I can't meet with you in face-to-face, we need to do it on the phone, or we need to Skype, or we need to do a Google chat or something. It's just how I do business. Because the fact of the matter is, if you send it, you're not getting bought. I mean, there's a chance you might get bought, but the odds are you're not getting bought. So why do it? Why waste your time? Why put together this great proposal when they're not going to buy you anyway? But if they're willing to meet with you. So that's what I tell them is, it's just my policy. I really want to meet you. And I tell them why. Because I need to meet you. I don't know what your needs are. And I'm very, very honest and direct. And I talk about, I need to find out what you need, and you need to get to know me, especially in your business, but in any business.
Right.
So I'm just real honest.